This video is unscripted and for the most part will be unedited. Just a disclaimer, I'm not the person driving. I am in the passenger seat on my way home from work. Earlier today, I posted something in my community section regarding the parole of Oscar Pistorius. I don't have the words to describe my sadness, my anger, my heartbreak, and my frustration at what is happening. The fact that a convicted murderer and perpetrator of gender-based violence has been granted parole, and the announcement of the grantment of his parole was released today. Irony is not even the word. Today is the 24th of November, 2023. Tomorrow is the 25th of November. And tomorrow marks the first day of the global campaign of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence that primarily affects women and girls. Riva Steenkamp was an activist against domestic violence and rape. She stood for victims and unfortunately became a victim herself at the hands of a perpetrator of domestic violence. She is just one example of the many women that we have failed in our society, of the many women that we continuously, consistently, and deliberately fail in our society. I was reading her mother's victim impact statement today. Her mother was not able to attend the final parole hearing of Oscar Pistorius because it was too much for her. So who attended and read her victim impact statement in her stead? Who do you think it was? It was the father of Lee Matthews, another victim of gender-based violence. I am honestly infuriated at the fact that we keep on equating misandry with misogyny, first of all. And the rise of Red Pill podcasts that further push misogyny into our world. People are comparing the hurt feelings of men with the fucking murder of women and girls. Do you understand? Do you understand that misogyny is actual violence? When I stopped posting videos, at the time, I'm not gonna remember the exact statistics, but at the time it was somewhere around 60 murders a day in South Africa, and I believe it was 10,000 rapes. Today, the statistic is 77 murders a day and 14,000 rapes. The Department of Correctional Services has told us today, the day before the beginning of 16 days of activism, that a perpetrator of gender-based violence must be released. Her mother, in 2017, at the end of 2017, was promoted to be part of the student development. Before that, she was in student development, and she was in, I think it was student affairs and harassment. So she was advocating against gender-based violence on university campuses. I remember when Oinena went missing and her friends were asking for help from the internet, from Twitter, from the world, asking them to help find their friend. And so many people on social media would say, oh, these young girls, they go out on these weekends to be with boys, and we must lose our minds looking for them because they are little harlots, blah, 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 constantly blaming women and girls for being victims. This is not the only instance of our society constantly blaming women and girls. Just this week alone, a 16-year-old girl is told ukuthi uyaphapha uthanda izinto because she is being groomed and manipulated by multiple men. And you have other women saying that, oh, these girls like things. You are never willing to call out the abuse for what it is, the grooming for what it is. You justify these ridiculous instances of much older men taking advantage of and raping girls. Yesterday, I read another statistic that said that 40% of teenage pregnancies are fathered by men between the ages of 20 and 29 years old. That's a statistic from the USA. The horror that is the statistic that comes out of South Africa. The Department of Basic Education is under fire right now for what is happening in KZN with the rates of teenage pregnancy that is a result of the rape of students, of learners, by their teachers, by their principals, the cover-ups that are happening. What the fuck is going on? How dare you? How dare you? Tomorrow you are going to be posting about how we need to stand against the violence that is perpetrated against women. We need to stand against gender-based violence. 16 days of activism. Please save our girls. When you put them in the firing line yourself. Think on that the next time you decide to blame a victim for her abuser's actions. I thought I was done, but it turns out that I have more to say about this. I have a huge issue with the constant rhetoric that people that come out with stories of abuse are lying because they didn't do it in time or because they don't have evidence. People will tell you how 10 years ago they were raped, and you'll look at them and say, oh, but you know, there's so many people that lie about being raped. There's so many men whose lives have been destroyed by rape. Kobe Bryant, was his life destroyed by the accusation of rape? Christiano Ronaldo, was his life destroyed by the accusation of rape? Oh, Jub, he murdered children. We gave him a fucking TV show. He raped a woman and you called her a liar. We live in the rape capital of the world, and you have the audacity to tell us that we are lying about rape. We don't have a false rape accusation problem in this world. We have a very real and very concerning problem of misogyny, rape, and femicide. Tomorrow, another hashtag is going to come up. Enough is enough. The same way that Am I Next came up and died. So I ask you, when will enough be enough? When will you be willing to take seriously the pain and the voices and the trauma that you have inflicted on victims, just so that you can say, oh, not all men? You create the world that you live in, and this is not about manifestation. You create the world that you every single one of your actions creates the world that you live in. If your action is to excuse an abuser who is grooming and raping a minor, then you are okay with living in a world where groomers and pedophiles exist. If you want to ask questions of what did she do to make him hit her, you're okay with living in a world where we accept violence against women and children as the norm, violence against human beings as the norm. You create the world that you live in. Remember that the next time you ask, what was she wearing?